The Wormhole and 6 most mysterious disappearances in the world. It was only when strange disappearances and spectacular returns occurred in the world that people realized that time is not simply expressed in units of measurement such as seconds, minutes, and hours. It also contains an invisible concept that is a wormhole. A form of space, antimatter, is made up of elementary particles that can expand, and when exposed, it will explode. It sucks things up and releases them to the future or past. In the history of the world, we have been amazed at the disappearances that seem to evaporate into the smoke, and then marveled at the miraculous return of those people and events. The return of the famous captain of the Titanic, Captain Smith, after 81 years of sinking, the strange disappearance of 800 British soldiers, and coffee still hot on deck after 48 years is believed to have disappeared, only are 3 of many mysterious stories related to Wormhole. Let's join us to discover the top 6 most amazing disappearances and comebacks that shocked the world. Number 1. 36 years equals 1 day. What happened? In 1954, during a hot air ballooning competition, Harry Rogan and Derek Noyden's hot air balloon suddenly disappeared. After many years of searching, people still could not find the body of the ill-fated hot air balloon. Strangely, in 1990, during another hot air ballooning competition in Cuba, the hot air balloon that went missing 36 years ago suddenly appeared at the place where it had disappeared in 1954, before thousands of amazed eyes. At that time, the Cubans thought that it was a secret weapon of the US, so they shot down the airship, and Rogan and Derek were taken to a military base. Here, they testified that during the 1954 hot air balloon competition at Bodorigo, San Juan, they suddenly experienced stimulation in the brain area, with the whole body aching like an electric current running through their body. Everything around, from the sky to the sea surface, turns red. Then they sensed being attacked by a fighter plane. They didn't know that just in that moment 36 years had passed. Experiencing the above phenomenon, astronomers and scientists have hypothesized that there is an existing time travel in form of a tornado. If an object accidentally falls into it, it will be sent to other dates, and in some special situation, it will be pushed back to its original position. The only difference is the return time. However, objects or people that are swept away will not be aware of what is happening to them. Number 2. Hot coffee aboard a ship after 48 years of disappearance. In 1985, in the swamps of the New Guinea jungle, a twin-engine passenger plane was discovered that had gone missing nearly half a century earlier. What surprised everyone was that even though it had been missing for nearly 48 years, the plane was still brand new, from the brand to the shiny paint. The plane had no scratches and the doors also worked. It was harder to believe that in the plane cabin no one was seen, whether dead or alive. Meanwhile, the paper cups, cigarette butts, and newspapers dated the 3rd Sunday of January 1937 had not yet turned yellow, as if there were still people on the plane. In an ashtray, there was a pack of scented cigarettes of the type of tobacco that was in circulation in the 1930s, but was discontinued by the time of World War II. In addition, the coffee kept in the butt was still warm and still tasted great. The military side, which sent people to investigate, still could not explain the strange things. They only know this was a civil plane that took off from Manila, Philippines to China in 1937. What surprised the investigators most was the state of the plane. When the battery of the machine was still fully charged, just turn the switch and the light will turn on automatically. The plane's fuel tanks were still mostly full. The plane looked like it had just made an emergency landing and was undamaged. It could still fly back like it did 50 years ago. Until now, scientists have continued to investigate the mysterious reappearance of this plane, but it seems that all efforts are becoming more and more futile. Number 3. 800 British soldiers sank into the clouds. During World War I, on August 21, 1915, more than 800 soldiers of the 5th Norfolk Regiment of the British Army were ordered to march up a high mountain in the Dardanelles region, Turkey. According to witnesses, a large cloud swooped down and covered the troops who were entering the valley. The higher the army ascended, the deeper it sank into the cloud. When the last man disappeared, the whole mass of clouds rose up and disappeared. Not a single soldier was seen coming out of the cloud. Every tree and bush on the top of the mountain could be seen clearly, but an army of more than 800 people had disappeared completely without a trace. At that time, 22 New Zealand soldiers were also training with this army on another small hill about 600 meters away. They witnessed the mysterious scene with their own eyes. There was a theory that the entire army was taken prisoner by Turkish special forces. However, after the war, the Turkish side firmly stated that they had never seen this army. The 800 soldiers who went missing were not on the list of British soldiers killed in the battle, nor were they on the list of prisoners returned by Turkey after the war ended. Where they are now is still an unanswered question. Number 4. The miraculous return of 25 US Marines. During the Pacific campaign of World War II in 1945, a Japanese submarine sank the American battleship Indianapolis. At that time, the US Navy received a distress signal from 25 soldiers and officers leaving the ship in lifeboats. But after many searches, the US government finally declared them missing. However, in July 1991, a Philippine fishing boat crew in the waters of Sibis, south of the Philippine archipelago, suddenly discovered a lifeboat with 25 soldiers on board, who were in panic despite their strong bodies. This discovery shocked the US authorities. The most puzzling thing was that the battleship Indianapolis had been sunk by the Japanese since 1945, and until 1991 they were seen again, but these 25 soldiers had not changed compared to before, even their beards and hair, which were not much longer either. They insisted that they were only floating at sea for 1 day and 1 night. 46 years equals 1 day. What happened? Astronomer Dr. Samasigian said that it is possible that they fell into the wormhole decades later and completely did not know what time they were in. Number 5. The spectacular return of the captain of the Titanic. Next on the list of people who fell into the wormhole, it is impossible not to mention the miraculous return of the famous Titanic captain, Captain Smith. On August 9, 1991, a marine scientific survey team, while on duty in the southwest area about 387 kilometers from the North Atlantic iceberg, discovered and saved a 60-year-old man's life. He was dressed in white, rather neat, and puffing on a cigarette. No one would have thought that it was the famous captain of the legendary Titanic. Oceanographer Dr. Marwan Eiderland, after rescuing Smith, told the press that nothing could have been more astonishing. This man couldn't be a scammer, he was actually the captain of the Titanic, the last person to sink into the sea with the ship. Even more unbelievable was that Smith is now 140 years old, but in reality was only a 60-year-old man. When he was saved, he insisted that it was September 15, 1912. After that, he was taken to the Oslo Psychiatric Institute, Norway for treatment. Psychologist Jay Halland conducted a series of tests, and the results showed that Smith was completely normal. On September 18, 1991, in a news clip, the psychologist asserted that the person who was saved was indeed Captain Smith because even the fingerprints showed it. The work should be clearly explained. Some European-American maritime agencies believe that Captain Smith has fallen into the, quote, missing phenomenon, reappearing through time. Number 6. The plane suddenly appeared after 45 years of disappearance. On September 9, 1990, the Venezuelan airport control station detected a Douglas, a popular brand in the 1930s and 1940s, suddenly flying over. When airport staff connected with them, the pilot on the plane shouted, "Oh my God, we're a 914 Pan American Airways plane from New York to Florida. How are we supposed to fly?" Verifying the flight log from the US, everyone was alarmed because all the crew and 50 passengers were presumed dead on flight number 914 on June 2, 1955. Even the insurance company completed everything, including compensation procedures for the victims' family members. Strangely, when these lucky people returned to the United States, their families and children were all old, while they were still as young as they were when they went missing in 1955. US police and scientists had been arrested and were beginning an investigation into the ID cards and the bodies of the passengers on that strange plane. Indeed, that was not a joke at all, but 100% true. Around the issue of wormhole, there are still many controversial opinions because there is no theory that provides convincing enough evidence. Meanwhile, the phenomenon of missing reappearing continues to repeat itself as a mystery that challenges people to find answers for the conquest of mysterious things. These are the top 6 most thrilling and mysterious disappearances in the world related to the wormhole. If you know of other similar missing cases, leave your comments below. Goodbye for now and see you in the next videos!